Page or college students who are from promoting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, sometimes like, oh God, you're back again. Why can't you do it? Why are you so to a parent?
Yeah.
And Ms. Mullenbeck, we are ready.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education of Glenbrook High School District 225. Ms. Smith, could we please have the roll?
Mr. Downing,
Present.
Mr. Glowacki,
Present.
Mrs. Hope,
Here.
Ms. Mullenbeck,
Here.
Mr. O'Hara,
Here.
Mr. Schein,
Present.
Dr. Steinberg,
Here.
7 members present.
First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Dr. Gravel, have there been any changes since the agenda was circulated?
There have been no changes.
In that case, could I please have a motion?
I motion we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next up, we have our superintendent's report. Take it away, Dr. Gravel.
Right. Well, this evening, I don't know if anyone has realized, but we have some guests here that have definitely filled the room. We are so grateful to recognize many of our student accomplishments. And to kick us off this evening, Mrs. Hughes, if we could introduce our math team.
All right, good evening. Tonight, I'm pleased to celebrate the success of this year's math team from GBN at the ICTM State Championship in April. Now, for the record, math team is not a stranger to being state champions, which they are also this year, but GBN won in 2001, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2024. And this year, we are thrilled to be celebrating our state championship again.
Hey, Mrs.
This-
Hughes, before you
yes.
continue, can I ask our math team just to
yeah.
come around here and circle around that screen, just so everyone can see
there we
all of
go.
your amazing.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a little tight quarters right now, but it's all good. All right,
Yeah, just pull that wall out.
You won't bite. You won't bite. Come on in.
keep on going all.
Nice. Okay, perfect. All right. So the team won the overall state championship and also had some special recognition of our freshman Alvin Fang and sophomore Ming Sun, who won individual state champions for their events. Are you both here today? Okay, perfect. And also seniors Aiden Dai and Dylan Fu teamed up to win state championships in their 2-person game show style event. Are you here today? All right, perfect. So we have our team here with us, as well as their coaches. We have Steve Goodman, who's here, and John Crickle, who's here. Also coaching the math team is Brad Benson, Mike Campbell, and Dina Humpavalis. And they are just a wonderful group of mathers in GBN that are a powerhouse in the state consistently, and that is in great part to their coaches, but also to the dedication and support of all the students here and their families. So we're just really thrilled to celebrate. Congratulations on your state championship math team.
Now to kind of navigate some logistics, math team, we're going to keep you right there.
Yes.
Can we welcome Dr. Georges to join us with Mr. Wasaki and some of our journalism students? Come on up from GBS.
Come out here, friends. All right, we'll have you stand right here. Well, good evening. It is my honor and privilege to introduce students from the Oracle and Etruscan who have placed at the IHSA State Journalism Finals that were held back in April. Each year, the Oracle newspaper publishes 7 issues representing the news and celebrations and editorials from Glenbrook South. This year alone, the Oracle was ranked the top newspaper from KEMPA and NITSPA, 2 of Illinois' associations for high school journalism, and additionally was ranked the #1 high school newspaper in the country by the National Scholastic Press Association in April. I get the honor and privilege to meet with the editors-in-chief for the yearbook and newspaper each month for a monthly principal press conference. And I'm constantly impressed by their professionalism and passion for journalism. In fact, several of the Oracle's editors will be studying journalism in college, including Molly Tomchuk and Ellery Moran. Based on these interactions and the quality of each issue, it's easy to see why we are here today to honor and celebrate our Oracle students for their success at this year's IHSA State Journalism Finals. So first place and state champion who cannot be here with us this evening was Meredith Bill, but second place and Oracle co-editor-in-chief, Anna Ivanov. Anna? She was second in state in yearbook caption writing for the second year in a row and placed in this category 3 years in a row. Amazing. Over at our Glenbrook South yearbook, The Etruscan, it has just completed production this year of the book Theme in an Instant. It's a beautiful memoir to the year and represents everything it means to be a Titan. The team is now submitted to submit in an instant to award competitions now that the book is out. And this past year, The Etruscan was also awarded top awards from Kempa and NIPSPA. But for IHSA, I would like to celebrate second place in the state for Etruscan editors. Evan Bosch is with us tonight. And unfortunately, Amrita Kosbayer cannot be with us. But these two worked as a team and were second in the state in yearbook theme development. These programs would not be possible without the tremendous leadership and dedication of Mr. Bob Wysocki and Miss Kristen Porter from the English department at GBS. They have my sincere gratitude for guiding these young budding journalists. And I can't imagine either of these programs without them. Thank you so much.
GBS students, we're going to keep you right there. And our Science Olympiad colleagues, let's come around the other side. We'll be surrounded by students over here too. Come on over. And I know we have some folks that are also on Science Olympiad. Feel free to traverse the other side.
All right, so we are very thrilled to celebrate the success of this year's GBN Science Olympiad team, who went to the state contest on April 17th and 18th. The team delivered a phenomenal performance and they finished 4th place overall in the state. Our students truly excelled across the board with several taking home top honors in their specific events. So we had first place champions in our astronomy team with Hanning and Maxim. Are you both here? Yeah. And we had our first place in the bungee drop with Evan and Sohan. And first place in Dynamic Planet with Maxim and Hanning, and Entomology also with Gabby and Simon. We had second place with Remote Sensing, Evan and Nathan. We had second place in Code Craze, Andy and Andrew. And in third place, Designer Jeans, Hanning and Akshath. And in fifth place, Engineering CAD, Evan Patel and Petrick. We had a fantastic weekend at the Science Olympiad contest, and we're very proud of how these students represented the whole school. And special thanks to our Science Olympiad sponsors. We have Randy Zeal, who's here tonight from our science department, and also John Nichols, who's in science, who wasn't able to be here. So congratulations on a great season.
So on behalf of the board, thank you so much to all of our students and their parents for coming out. I know several of you might have one last or two last final exams tomorrow. We really appreciate you coming to be recognized. At this point, you are more than welcome to stay. I said earlier, we do have a very exciting board agenda before us. If for some reason it's time to return back to studying or you have other activities, this is the time that you are welcome to depart. But can we give all of our students one more round of applause? Thank you. Thank you so much, students. You're welcome to start heading out.
Yeah, that's the theory. Right, so this makes perfect stuff here. It aligns so well with everything.
No, I'm gonna be very demanding.
He's there for all of
I'm not sharing it with anybody but you. No, I mean.
All righty, y'all. We're going to continue on the superintendent's report. There is no more exciting time of year than when we recognize the next step in the academic journey and life journey of our students through graduation. Over the past week, we've celebrated 3 graduations. Glenbrook Off Campus, our therapeutic day school, had their graduation at Glenbrook South High School in the auditorium the week before last. And then we also celebrated the Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South graduations this past weekend. A few highlights, and I know we'll talk more about it during board reports, but this was our first year at a new venue. As a reminder for our community and the board, we, for many years, were at Rosemont Theater, and the ownership of the Rosemont Theater transitioned from the village to a private firm. And at the time when we needed to schedule graduation dates, they were not issuing contracts. So we looked at different venues and we were able to find access at Northwestern University's Welsh Ryan Arena. There was just so much positive feedback. It was a very brightly lit venue. There were seats for everyone. The comment was, not only are the seats comfortable, which is always a good part, but there was no bad seat in the arena, no matter where you were located, plenty of washroom facilities, all those types of positive things. As with any time you switch a graduation venue or setup that you've been doing for many years, you learn a lot of things. So just another quick shout out to our senior class sponsors and graduation coordinators, Julie Smith at Glenbrook South and Danielle Flugie at Glenbrook North. They, as well as a team of folks within the student activities offices, as well as our administrative team, just did a phenomenal job. So we'll be gathering some more feedback from families as well as our staff, and look forward to another wonderful graduation next year. There is a natural question: where are we going to be and when is it going to be? We have been engaging in preliminary conversations with Northwestern. However, they have not been able to confirm dates just yet. I think it might have something to do with the fact that there is a very large thing being built next door to the arena, and they're waiting to plan their calendar for all of their athletic events. So we don't anticipate that we would be switching venues for next year, but we will keep the board and the community informed. And based on availability is what really drives the graduation date. So more information to come. Another sad and exciting topic at the same time. At the beginning of this year, we launched this theme recognizing that we have so many staff members, our teachers, our support staff, our administrators, that really make a difference in our students' lives, and not just one group of students, but generations of students. So we refer to them as Glenbrook Legends. The class of 2026 is nearing the end of their time here. Many of our folks will come for their final day at Glenbrook on Thursday this week. Some of our other staff might be working a few more months into the summer, but just want to acknowledge all of our team members at Glenbrook North, South, and the district office. It's been a pleasure to work with so many of these people that I've been here over the last 11 years, and many that have served Glenbrook's 20 or 30 years. So just want one more opportunity to celebrate them and recognize their amazing impact on our families and our students. Next, very exciting, also maybe not as exciting as graduation, is the new policy manual is available online for your review. It is searchable. It is fully accessible. Documents can be printed in proper formatting. There are hyperlinks to statutory citations and Illinois Administrative Code. There are cross-references, and just wait, it's going to get better when we also embed in the parent and student handbook. But for now, you can navigate to glenbrook225.org, locate the board section. There's a policy link and have a link directly into the policy handbook. And just this afternoon, I learned how to make edits and more red lines. Very cool concept. Press uses 3 different colors. So instead of just an underline, if they are removing something, it is highlighted in red. They are adding something, it is highlighted in green. And if we do something that is different from them, because remember, we're basing off of their work, it's highlighted in blue. So there is full color coding now for every change that's there. It's very exciting. I know you're looking forward to the first batch of policies. We might have found some things that we'll need to bring forward in the next 2 meetings. Nothing too big, but very excited on that. And again, thank you again to Dr. Johns and the policy committee for all of their work on that. And when you are looking for something exciting to do, right there, that's it. All right. Ms. Mullenbeck, that is all I have for the superintendent's. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Today, I just want to acknowledge some board members, Mr. Shine and Mr. Glowacki, myself, and some members of the administrative team were invited to meet with the Introduction to Machining class at Glenbrook North. This was a special time because it was their final, so it was kind of a capstone at the end of the year. And Mrs. Christy Rose, one of our CTE teachers, had walked us through nearly every area that existed in the machining side. We got to see sections of the wood shop, sections of really more of our CAD area and laser engravers. And they demonstrated the work they've done. They demonstrated their understanding of how they actually created products. And I brought one of these products here. So I'm going to pass this around. This originally started as a tumbler that all looked green. And by the time of the end of our tour was done, they laser engraved the Spartan Head logo and all of our names on it, just like you would get from a commercial company. So I'm going to pass that around. Very cool thing. The real takeaway, not only the amazing work that our students are doing in CTE and what Mrs. Rose, one of our faculty members, is doing, is the real impact. We see so much that come before the board table in the form of policy or adoption of purchases or large scale, projects like we'll learn about today. The real magic happens each and every day in our classrooms. And so I hope as we move into next year, not only will you get to learn more about things through board presentations, such as a wonderful technology presentation as well today. But I hope we'll get some opportunities for you to come in, see our teachers do the amazing things that they do each and every day, interact with our students, and just see what really makes Glenbrook a special place to live and an amazing place to learn. And so if you too are interested in knowing exactly how they did that, like I was, there are opportunities for you that as well. And maybe I started the conversation figuring out if, as we look in our new stadium rebuild and our opportunities to create bricks where you might be able to donate, I did learn today that we do have the equipment to do that in our CTE labs. Just throwing it out there as new opportunities. So just a shout out to Mrs. Rose and the team. And we are grateful that we were able to basically take the entire final exam to learn more about the projects. So with that, Ms. Mullenbeck, I am done. I will be quiet.
Terrific. You need to get one from the Titan Lab now. All right. We have board reports, and as Dr. Gravel mentioned, it was graduation weekend and graduations last week. So I know that some board members wanted to who attended the graduations, we're going to give reports on those, as well as I believe a booster club meeting. What was the one that you had mentioned? Why don't we just go around and have board reports? We can start with Mr. Glowacki.
Well, I'll kind of start in order chronological, but the GBS boosters met recently and I see some representatives here and everything. It was year-end activities, new board, executive committee members elected and everything. And jumping in on at that point, this was about a week and a half ago, so it was year end, as we've heard from leadership here that, the schools have represented quite well at state athletics and academics, so they were getting ready to support that. And folks forget the boosters are the ones that are out there making sure the food's out there, things are there for the kids and everything else, and the equipment that helps them and everything. So that was pretty exciting. And I see a couple here today that are very excited about the next chapter of our fields and everything. And then turning to, I guess, just quickly, GBN graduation. I had a chance to attend that and it was wonderful at the arena, everything RJ said about it. I've heard from parents because quickly thereafter that night, for those that aren't aware throughout the district, GBN, both schools have a senior night lock-in, but GBN does something a little differently where they lock them in the school and the parents are building some phenomenal sets. This year's theme, I can't say because I'm sworn to secrecy, even at post-event, but it's, we've had people on the board that have been involved with this as well too. It was phenomenal what they do for the kids and how the local community comes out to support all this because all of it was secured through donations from the local businesses, the parents were the ones there supervising the kids all night long till 6 a.m. and then when they go off to watch the sunrise and everything. So that was fabulous. And then last is just echoing on to what RJ said about the class today. It was phenomenal to see how engaged the kids all were, boys, girls, everyone in terms of the different facets of what they could build in that CTE shop and everything. And the work that also, one thing that learned today, how they work with other departments too. It's not just limited to machining something there, but they're working with the other sciences and others as well too, to help leverage math, for example, now practically in terms of the lessons and everything too. So it was great to see that and very eager to see when the bricks come in signs. You forgot about the signs. You were also working with them.
About a few. Trying to keep it.
So.
Great. Mr. Downing?
I attended the Glenbrook South graduation at Northwestern. Dr. Gravel already kind of stole all my thunder, but it was.
Well, your daughter.
My daughter did graduate, which is awesome. And to that, to that point, I think one of the, great things about attending that as a board member is the opportunity to see the kids smile, and they smile, and they are so proud of everything they've done, and it's infectious. You're sitting up there and it's one of the great days of the year. I look forward to doing it again and again. That reminded me of something that I don't think we ever reported about, but I'm just going to hijack this time just to quickly report about the incubator program, because that reminded me of that. And also the smiles I saw reminded me of that. If those of you who do not know about the incubator program, we were at right before graduation, they had their capstone and they all got to come up to the board of business owners and present their business idea. So think of Shark Tank, right? They come up and they make a pitch for what they want to do. And I was lucky enough to sit on that and listen to them all. And the team that won, that we awarded $5,000 to, actually have a real good business. It's I've been involved with it for 10 years. It's the best presentation I've seen in 10 years. And these things get better and better and better. And these kids were great. Eros is the name of the company, and they're doing fragrances. And their fragrance is faith-based. And they say, wear your faith. And they already have it in some stores. So if you guys have not come to Incubator, I highly recommend you come, because you see now we've doubled the class. Now it's two classes, and they come and they present these outstanding business ideas to a bunch of business owners, and they've never run a business before. And they get up there and they talk like they want your money.
And they got it.
And they got it.
And they got it.
And they're, but every year the kids, you just get up there, like, you feel good about what we've done for them, because not everybody's going to go to college, right? And you feel good about our future and our kids. So amazing job to Mr. McFadden and the whole business department. And then I highly encourage you guys to come check it out next year. And I also want to echo the thanks to Julie Smith because that was run like it had been run before. It was a great graduation. So.
Dr. Steinberg?
Not too much to add, but echoing my colleagues' comments on both graduations, I do want to go back to the last point that Jack made. Having been in many graduations in large arena, the coordination and the details, and these two, when I was surprised, I look at the watch, I said, wow, you know, I know for some people, 2 hours and 15 minutes, it's a lot of time, but thinking about number of students, parents, and you know, on the way out, this was great. I don't know if we're gonna repeat there or somewhere else, and I don't know what's the rest of the feedback, but in terms of how the whole ceremony went, pleasure to be in, and hope for many more.
Mr. Schein?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much all been said. One thing that I was thinking sitting there was how much better, and better's not the right word, but more like festive and sort of just like happier the whole environment was than Rosemont. Rosemont's an older facility. It has a totally different feel, more like a playhouse type of feel. And the light and brightness in the arena, the natural light coming in from panels up above. And it seemed like more or less people could get as many tickets as they wanted. And I only say that because there were a couple thousand seats still open at the top. And I know there's always like a battle, at least on Facebook, about getting, parents' Facebook getting tickets. But it was great. I hope we can work on the whole logistics of parking next year. That was just a little bit of a challenge, but once you were inside, I mean, it was just flawless execution. If you walked around and were in groups of parents or kids, everybody was just like so upbeat and like kind of grateful and thankful for what, for the, the event. The staff just did an amazing job. Plus, first shot through the venue. So it's not like were fully familiar at Rosemont. We knew every nook and cranny, we knew where to get help for everything if something wasn't working or whatever. And the other thing that was, I thought, really a nice enhancement was all the AV. So they had the, just like at a game, so they had, our logo, and there were projections of the students receiving up on the, what do you call it? The Jumbotron or whatever that thing is up there. And that gave it this really modern kind of feel. And the one thing I noticed, which I know is just kind of like small and weird, but a lot of the students had decorated their mortar boards, which you would then see on the board because it had an overhead shot. A lot of students put a whole lot of effort into, kind of personalizing their regalia. So it was great.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Hope?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to the Glenbrook off-campus graduation ceremony, and I had not been to that one before, and it was truly just so inspiring and so meaningful. Each of the case managers and teachers and psychologists and social workers got up and shared about the individual students and each of the graduates on their caseload, and not just their academic journey and successes, but some of the challenges and what had brought them to off-campus. And it was just so clear how much they cared about these students, not just their academic success, but them as people, as individuals, and that it was such a close community. And then a handful of the students each got up and spoke about their own journeys, but about their experience of the school. And it was just so clear what a special place it is. I think one of the students was talking about how they had struggled to go to school pretty frequently before off campus, and even when beginning off campus, and now they described school. They said that school had become their safe place, which is really all you can ask for a school and a student. And it just, I'm so in awe of the staff there and the students and the families. It was really just so inspiring and meaningful.
Mr. O'Hara, do you have anything to share?
Not much to add. No, you guys have pretty much hit it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I also attended Glenbrook off campus, and it really is a very special event. I mean, all graduations are special and all of our students accomplish great things, but some of our students at GBOC really have some very unique challenges that they speak very wisely and movingly about, you know, their perseverance and resilience and what they've had to overcome to reach the point where they graduate, and for them to go forward, you know, out in the world, having had this wonderful network that they know will always be there from them. It's really just a wonderful thing to be a witness to see their joy on that day. Okay, that brings us then to the next item on our agenda, recognition of community visitors, and we do have a couple of folks.
We have 2 lists.
Oh, we have 2 lists. Okay, we have so many folks tonight. We needed 2 lists. We're going to start with James Williams, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I should read my little public comment preamble first. Can you hang on just one second, James? This is an up to 30-minute period for public participation. Each individual may speak to the board for up to 2 minutes. We ask but do not require that each speaker state their name, address, and relationship to the district to facilitate follow-up if needed. All speakers are expected to conduct themselves with respect and civility towards others. Please remember that this is a business meeting of the board. All comments should be addressed to the board and should concern board business. The board receives public comments as a source of information and considers them in making decisions and in the establishment of policies. It is our practice to take no action on any items, nor to discuss any items members of the public have raised until the board has had time to gather information and then objectively discuss available options. However, during the meeting, the board, at its discretion, may choose to address an issue or correct any misinformation raised during public comment. While the board does not control the topics brought to its attention or the substance of the public comment, speakers are reminded that their comments are not automatically protected by any immunity or other legal protection. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. James Williams, 1827 Sunnyside Circle, Northbrook, Illinois, 60062. I will only be at a portion of this meeting because I will be walking next door to support our amazing boys lacrosse team during their playoff game today. But I wanted to come here to basically say that I would like to admire, as we honor the students who are graduating at the end of the year and the staff that are retiring, the recognition of the diverse paths that students will be taking after graduation, and the realization that there is nothing wrong with the fact that our students in our district will be taking those diverse paths. I was a student that took a diverse path. When I graduated from Glenbrook North, my diploma had to be modified. I was in special education. I met the academic requirements to graduate. I did not meet the academic requirements to attend college. Indeed, I was even exempted from the Prairie State and ACT test that is administered to virtually every junior during the school year. I went as a student like everyone else and was told to go home and rest because I did not meet the requirements. That being said, I have to thank the teachers and my counselors and others who knew that was my path, who had the resources I needed to make that path work. Indeed, my parents even had to apologize to me when one of my teachers asked me to do something for my future that they did not agree with, but it turns out that thing that teacher asked me to do, I eventually had to do after I graduated. The school gave me the support I needed for that unique path of not pursuing college after high school. The only obstacle, though, was the lack of awareness the students had that not every one of their fellow Spartans went to college. Let's hope that we educate our students about the diverse paths and acknowledge them.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next on the list, I have Lisa Raju.
Hi, my name is Lisa Raju. I live at 1300 Wendy, and I'm a GBN parent. I'm also the co-president of GBN's Booster Club, along with Emily Taylor. And in that position, I often find myself advocating for our student athletes. But today, I'm actually advocating for everyone else in our community. In September of 2022, I posted in the GBN Parents Group a picture of a packed stadium bleachers, and the caption to that said, "Look closely. That's more than a football game. That's the GBN community. Parents, fans, youth athletes, marching band members, POMs, cheerleaders, broadcast club, SA board, flag squad. It's their season 2. This is what they love to do. Home openers tonight at 7. See you there in Northbrook." And the truth is, the athletic events at GBN in GBN and GBS's stadium are about much more than the athletes. They are spaces to come together as a community, and they should be maintained and kept up so that all members of the community can come out and be part of the team.
Thank you. Next, we have Emily Taylor.
Emily Taylor, 3629 Dauphine Avenue in Northbrook. I am also a booster co-president. I did not write anything down, so I'm going off the cuff. But I do want to applaud the district for, I also am alum of Glenbrook North. And sitting in the bleachers that I sat in the 90s and sitting in them today, currently, I am so looking forward to the day where I don't have to worry about my drink falling behind underneath the stands and losing a cell phone, that we're going to have new bleachers and new facilities that are going to be so great from the plans that we've seen, and also applaud the district for asking for input from all of the shareholders. It has been so wonderful and such a partnership, and I really, really appreciate it as a parent, as an alum, and also someone who, did some sports. And then also, strictly for the Glenbrook North community, having an entrance to the fields and having the concessions area that can service all the fields and bathrooms for the fields. It is such a joy. And I just want to say thank you. So that's all.
Thank you. Edward Haravan.
Sorry, thank you. Ed Haravan, 341 Washington Street in Glenview. I'm here representing the Glenbrook South Titan Booster Club, along with my colleagues Steve Baumgartner and longtime former colleague Bob Safransky. And here just to speak about the strong support and excitement that we view the upcoming stadium and facilities project for the athletic facilities at South and in the district at 225. Dr. Gravel was kind enough to make us part of the process back in October, where we received some preliminary plans. Obviously, being a part of the Booster Club and a part of the athletic community at South, that engenders a lot of excitement with our constituents. And it immediately set us to work about all the different opportunities that we could align our efforts for, and kicked off a process that has been very productive for us in the last several months. In hearing that it's time to bring the athletic facilities up to commensurate standards of the world-class academic facilities that have been improved at both the schools, really seems like a wonderful second act to building the experience for students and student athletes at the schools. We see all the reports both at a state level, at a national level, world-class opportunity here at our schools, and these truly will be world-class athletic facilities that, in conversations beyond just the high school community, as you reach into people who are grammar school, elementary school, when your kids are going to be at South or at North, they're going to be able to have these facilities will be a cornerstone of the community. And I think not only will inspire success on the field, but also in the stands and in the community, as Emily kindly said, and then really captured that spirit as well. Do I have time for 2 more points?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
We've never had that happen before.
Yeah, right.
We have the audio connected, but we.
Yeah, that's good. And I'll add two more points here. One, probably from a parent perspective, but I think sums up the community, and also a challenge. So it's easy to go to other facilities around the community as they get in line first. And it's easy to have wanderlust. We're all human. But the mark of a strong community and a strong system and a strong board is the ability to plan and to prudently set aside over the years and to schedule and sometimes defer and sometimes say no and to prioritize. And the fact that, I've seen the price tag on the dollars that are going to be put toward these facilities and the fact that they're being put forth with no increase in tax revenues and no increase in bond revenues and floating. Suffice to say, I'm sure that is not the case in all of the communities that we often walk away from. So that's a tremendous source of pride as a community member too, and I think will be reflected throughout the entire both GBS and GBN community over time as these kind of great facilities take place. The last thing I'll say is an opportunity extends beyond sports and beyond athletics and even beyond the community. It really is a full curriculum opportunity. Often at the Booster Club, we talk about things like scoreboards and AV. And we are always drawn to and who's going to work them. And we should get some kids to do this. I'll find some kids to do this. Realize that is easier said than done. But when you talk about, massive video boards and new press boxes and Wi-Fi that extends to the press box and the ability for broadcasting and AV and visual arts, really, if you look around the community or the world today, sports media, video production is a huge industry, and that creates incredible academic opportunities. Both the schools already excel in their TV and film program. This will be an opportunity to really jumpstart anything related to broadcasting or AV, and I would challenge the academic side of the district to think about ways to endow that. And I know that's been a passionate topic here at the Booster Club around what we can do to help because it takes faculty involvement, it takes time, it takes teachers, just like everything way above our pay grade. But any chance we have to partner, either financially or through experience or in other ways to help seed that that opportunity to build those programs that kind of can attach on to these wonderful facilities, certainly we're willing to have the conversation and see how we can help. So thank you for the extra time. I apologize.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came to speak tonight. That brings us to our consent agenda. Dr. Gravel, are there any changes to the consent agenda?
There have been no changes.
In that case, could I have a motion on the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
And you're sitting this one out? Okay. All in favor?
No, I need to call the
Oh, you need a vote?
consent.
Okay.
Mr. Downing,
Abstain.
Mr. Glowacki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. O'Hara,
Yes.
Mr. Schein,
Yes.
Dr. Steinberg,
Yes.
Ms. Mullenbeck,
Yes.
6 members voting yes, 1 abstention.
Moving on to our discussion and action agenda. First up, capital projects for the summer 2027. The main event. Here we go.
We are very excited to welcome Dr. Kim Patak, our long-term Director of Operations, as well as Mrs. Lauren Bonner, our incoming Assistant Superintendent for Operations and Student Experiences. They are going to provide the exciting part of the project, giving a little bit of an update on where we've come over the last few months. As a quick note, the Facilities Committee received an early preview of this 2 weeks ago. And as a reminder, there will be a Finance Committee meeting before our next meeting on June 8th to kind of go over the financial elements. But once Kim and Lauren talk about the exciting stuff, I'll share some updates on the financial as well. Dr. Patak, it's all you.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, we're very excited to walk you through the first year of our master facility plan, which is the summer of 2027. Our projects for the summer of 2027 fall into three main categories. We have building infrastructure, interior enhancements, and exterior enhancements. And as you can see just from the chart, the primary focus of year one is on exterior enhancements, which are our stadiums and where we'll be spending most of our time tonight. As RJ said, we walked through each of these projects in much greater detail at our facility committee meeting 2 weeks ago. So tonight I am going to summarize the projects that fall under the first two categories, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lauren Bonner and Aaron Miller, who are going to walk you through the last category. For our building infrastructure projects, these projects tend to be a little less visible, but are equally important as they keep our buildings running efficiently and reliably. So for the summer of 2027, we have 4 infrastructure projects we'll be focusing on. The first is some preventative maintenance work on one of our largest chillers at Glenbrook North, which helps us to air condition the building. The second project is to expand the coverage of our fire suppression system, which is also more commonly known as our sprinkler system. So it's important to note that by the end of our facility master plan, all the areas in our buildings will be fully sprinkled. So we'll be starting the work in 2027 at Glenbrook North. We also have an important accessibility project, and that is adding an elevator to the Titan Dome at Glenbrook South. This is a very heavily utilized space, and it's currently accessed by a small lift system. So an elevator will not only give us the redundancy we need, but it also be a more permanent and reliable solution. And then lastly, we have some building envelope work at our off-campus facility. And then we have 3 projects I'm going to go through that are interior enhancement projects or interior renovation work. So the first are our student and staff bathroom renovations. So over the last few years, as you're aware, we've been renovating bathrooms to our new district standard, and we'll be able to complete all of our bathrooms at some point during our master facility plan. So the summer of 2027, we're finishing the bathrooms in the A wing at Glenbrook North. At Glenbrook South, since the bathrooms are more consolidated, we've been able to move through those much more quickly. And actually at the end of this summer, so before the master facility plan even starts, we'll have finished the majority of bathrooms at Glenbrook South. So the summer of 2027, we have about 8 single-use staff bathrooms that we'll be renovating. Another interior project for the summer of 27 is to add an additional science lab at Glenbrook South. Our science classrooms at South are currently scheduled very close or at capacity, and that puts a lot of pressure on our master scheduling system. So we're recommending converting 2 general use classrooms into a science lab, and we have an ideal location for that on our 2nd floor right next to a physics classroom. So the 2 science labs will be able to share a prep room. And then the last project I want to talk about is our new pit and adjacent corridor renovation. And this work at Glenbrook South, it's similar to work we've done in the past at Glenbrook North, specifically in the Glenbrook North Student Activity Hallway. The area we're renovating is affectionately referred to as the new pit, and that's an area that sits in the heart of our West Academic Wing. We also have an old pit, which is in the East Academic Wing, which will be renovated later on in the plan. But these are spaces that get a lot of traffic. They're architecturally significant as they have the high vaulted ceilings with the skylights. They also have an architectural staircase that connects the 2 floors. And so just as you can see from the pictures, they're very dated, a little bit on the darker side. And the goal of the project is really twofold. The first is there's several infrastructure pieces in this area that are just simply due for replacement. So the skylight that you see in the photo is original. The carpeting is about 20 years old, not only in this area, but also the adjacent hallway areas. We have older ceiling tiles, older lights. There's older windows that look down from the 2nd floor to the pit area that are still that wire mesh glass. And so all of that is due for replacement. So that's a big piece of the project. But then secondly, as we're doing this renovation work, we really want to be mindful and brighten up the space. So you can see from the renderings, just using different glass for the skylights and the windows on the second floor, just to really let more natural light in and brighten up the space. And then also choosing our finishes so that we're going much lighter and brightening up the space. We also want to take the opportunity to be able to draw more students into the area. So you'll see on the stairs that go into that pit area, trying to turn them more into seating so that classes can pull out of their classrooms and have breakout sessions and use the spaces a little bit more. The same for after school clubs, so they can use it as a gathering space. And then we have adjacent hallways that serve our science, special ed, and math area. So all of our classrooms are in those adjacent hallways. And so there's renovation work scheduled here as well, which would include the carpet replacement, ceiling replacement, lighting replacement, and then also adding, as you'll see in the photos, removing lockers to add more seating areas for students and teachers to work together, and also visual display areas to bring some of the work outside into the hallways. So with that, I'm going to turn it over for the exciting part now. I'm going to first turn it over to Lauren Bonner, who's going to walk through the scope of all the stadium work. And then Erin Miller is with Archon, and she and Kyle will walk us through kind of from an architectural standpoint, some of the thought that went into the overall design, and also show us a really cool video of what it's like to walk through the stadiums.
Thank you. So as you know, our stadiums really anchor our outdoor campus, and they're a primary focus for the first year of our master facility plan. Utilization of our stadiums, as our booster folks represented earlier, it's not just limited to our athletic programs, though undoubtedly our teams and booster clubs maximize every component of the stadium during competitions. Our stadiums are also important curricular spaces for our physical education programs, making this project a project that will positively affect every future Titan and Spartan. As for the scope, the stadium project is both an infrastructure replacement project and a broader campus enhancement project. From an infrastructure standpoint, many of the major components are simply just nearing the end of their useful life. So that includes the turf, the track, lighting, press box, and the beloved bleachers. Beyond replacing those items, the project also focuses on improving functionality, accessibility, circulation, safety, and the overall experience for staff, students, volunteers, and spectators. One important thing to note is that the stadium really functions as the hub for many of our exterior athletic spaces. The restrooms, concessions, storage, trainer spaces, and circulation areas support not just the stadium itself, but also many adjacent athletic fields and activities throughout campus. Because the components of our new stadiums have such a far-reaching impact, Dr. Patak, Mr. Wright at GBS, both of our athletic directors, the entire Archon team, and I have proactively reached out to trainers, coaches, marching band directors, teachers, broadcasting staff, booster club members, PE leaders, class board members, team captains, and more to gather feedback that brought us to today. One student from Glenbrook South shared, "I love how the bathrooms and concessions will be more accessible for all sports and teams. I also think it's great how there'll be more space and seating outside of just the bleachers." And then a student from Glenbrook North shared this, "I love the expansion of the track and the pavilion area. It's so nice to have such a nice concessions outdoor area that will transform football games. It's so nice because classes can go outside to the area as well." Our students gave great feedback throughout this process, and they were not afraid to tell us where we needed to improve. One student said, "As someone who plays on the backfield during the fall, the porta potty is not amazing." And a few of our students provided very specific feedback, such as, "Where will we store the field hockey goals during the off-season?" Or, "The main gate coming into the field has to be wide enough for the drum line to march with 2 quads wide and 4 bass drums wide." Our students also use these opportunities to tell us what we didn't think of. One student shared, "It's missing colored lights and speakers." Students, staff, and our greater community connect really deeply to this project and cannot wait to see it come to fruition. So Erin Miller, project principal architect with Archon Associates, will share in even greater detail the design process her team has utilized for our stadiums.
Lauren. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I was asked to, great. I was asked to provide a few words to explain the architectural approach for the stadium designs. As you are all very aware, we've been working through schematic design and design development to establish the scope of work, programmatic requirements, spatial relationships, and exterior conceptual renderings of the stadium building character. Based on the stakeholder feedback that we've received, the intent of the overall stadium design is to create an athletic campus that feels like a cohesive facility. As you've heard many times tonight, the stadium entrances and support structures were located to best serve both the stadium and surrounding fields to serve all student athletes, as well as PE students, marching band, POMs, broadcasting students, spectators, and visiting teams. An example of that is the relocation of the GBN entry to make it more centralized to best serve those spaces. We started by assessing the site from a long-term master planning perspective to make sure that the current stadium improvements will not preclude you as a district to implement other future improvements, such as additional turf fields. The conceptual building designs are intended to complement the existing building architecture at both GBN and GBS campuses. The existing stadium architecture at both buildings to serve functional purpose and to achieve parity and maintain district standards and identity between the schools. As you know, the existing GBN building incorporates simple geometries, low horizontal massing, traditional building elements like brick, concrete, and steel, and white structural accents. It's a very functional design. The new stadium includes these same elements while introducing school colors, lighting, covered entryways with school signage and logos, and a grand entry procession that we were able to establish to guide visitors into the stadium. We intend to articulate this with pavement patterns, potential donor brick opportunity by those CTE students, lighting and landscaping, and we've paid attention to scale so that while the entry feels very grand, it's also very pedestrian friendly. At GBS, the existing building, similar to GBN, has clean modernist lines, brick and concrete construction, and is a very functional aesthetic that incorporates very simple ornamentation. We intend to incorporate the same ornamentation into the GBS stadium design, as you'll see with the engaged brick piers with steel ladder structure. These elements will complement the existing building, and we're also introducing at GBS similar ornamentation and materiality, the introduction of signage, color, and lighting for dramatic effect. So we've put together a little bit of a video to share where we are to date with the progress of these designs. We'd love to share it with you now.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next timeline, is this my transition or are you guys still taking care of the timeline?
One more.
Are we all pushing the button at the same time?
The one before that.
The one before. Okay, this last slide just shows the timeline from where we're at today until the work would actually begin. So in the month of May, we had our facility committee meeting. We're having our board meeting now to go through all of the proposed projects for the summer of 27. In June, so next week, ArcCon would start the very detailed bid specifications. So during that time, they'd be getting a lot of feedback. We'll be having meetings about just the press box. We'll be having meetings about the geometry and construction classroom. So just a lot of back and forth on all of the fine details as they work on the bid specifications. During that time, our costs will also become a little bit tighter. October, we would put the projects out to bid, and then we would be able to bring the actual prices to the board for the projects in December before we head off on winter break. The work then could begin as soon as February, March timeframe in areas that don't impact the school day.
Okay. From a financial standpoint, we have a separate financial timeline. The first reviews or begins today by just providing a bit of an overview of how the project would be funded. I know we've talked about this all the way dating back to the fall, but just kind of a reminder of the structure of how we're moving forward, living within our means, as we've been saying. On June 8th, the Finance Committee will have an opportunity to meet with Elizabeth Hennessy from Raymond James, who's the district's long-term financial consultant. And then we will also hold a public hearing on life safety exterior projects. That's just an additional requirement because there are some projects that qualify under life safety, but there's an element of Illinois School Code that requires any life safety projects on the exterior of the building need to be discussed in a public hearing. So we'll go through that process on June 8th. Ultimately, during the July 13th meeting, we will seek approval from the board to issue working cash fund bonds and also schedule a second public hearing that'll take place on August 10th. And then the last step in the process, again, a lot of just different moving parts, comes on September 14th when the board would formally approve parameter bond resolutions. And I'll explain what all that means in just a moment. As a reminder for the board, the district since the really the 2000, and I always get my years wrong, Dr. Patak 2006 referendum, the district has operated on a pay-as-you-go approach. And what that means is we have not issued new debt. We have restructured debt and leveraged the savings of interest and things of that nature. But we need to find funds for our capital projects within our operating budget or use access to bonds that typically are expiring. We have not gone out to referendum since 2006 and have no reason to do so. And this was kind of referenced by our booster clubs because from a financial management standpoint, the district has been very diligent and very conservative in our approach. We haven't gone out for bonds every time we had the opportunity to. We've focused on paying off now 20 years later our referendum bonds. And what that does is it provides us the capacity to, yes, issue new debt, but to do so within the tax rate that our taxpayers are already familiar with. There are different components when it comes to bonds. I mentioned life safety bonds versus working cash bonds. It all depends on what exact category a project falls under. But between the reissuance of debt, as well as over $50 million that will continue to contribute from our operating fund, we are able to move forward with a $150 million capital projects plan that really, we've talked a lot about the outside, but will also benefit our students on the inside. Examples of pay-as-you-go approach on a very high level is the fact that we have remodeled every learning space within our core academics. So we have renovated our science labs, our English, social studies classrooms, our world language classroom, special education class. All of those areas have been modernized in addition to a large number of areas. In fact, I mentioned earlier that we were at GBN CTE. We were in one of our recently upgraded design labs, and we walked right past, for those who are with me, the soon-to-be renovated culinary labs. So we have focused a tremendous amount on the inside, but not just in the academic areas, in areas that, while it may sound minor, are very impactful for our students. We have significantly renovated our nurses' offices, as well as this summer we'll install our second Glenbrook School Health Center at Glenbrook North. We have created a brand new therapeutic day school for our students after their traditional 4 years of school, where they are in sometimes for 4 more years, the Glenbrook Transition Services Facility. We have also done a considerable amount of work in our hallway areas as well as our washrooms, which in some of our facilities were original to the building, on top of some amazing work that we've done within our performing arts venues with much more work to be done. We've also not, as a district, gotten into a spot that some folks do. We have not let deferred maintenance accumulate. We are addressing rooftop units. We are consistently making sure our sidewalks are strong, our parking lots are safe, and also addressing all of the other security concerns that are natural topics of schools today. And so because we've kept up with it, we've really built a nice system that allows us to move forward with this plan. From a project budget standpoint, we have the revenues and we have the expenditures. Significant amount of work is taking place in the summer of 27. It's because really the core of the outside, as Mrs. Bonner was talking about, that's the hub for everything. We have more work scheduled outside than we've talked about. We've recognized the needs. Actually, Mr. Downing, I think, or who made the joke about the practice field? Is it Mr. Downing? Mr. Downing. We have a need to address our practice fields. We're exploring other opportunities to add more turf. We are looking at our baseball and softball fields. We're making sure that we have an equitable amount of baseball and softball fields. We're making sure that they're positioned logically. We're exploring possible addition of more lights so that we can maximize the use of our fields, not only during the daytime, but into the evenings. So there's a lot of work to be done, but all the core infrastructure happens in that stadium. And so that's why you see that much higher revenue budget, because we need a lot more funds in order to get a lot of the work done. In addition to other projects that Dr. Patak mentioned, such as our washrooms at Glenbrook North, our revitalized new pit over at Glenbrook South, and so on and so forth. Funding comes from really 4 primary forms. First is that contribution that we make each year in our budget. So for the past about 10 years, we have been increasing our allocation from the budget for capital projects. Those capital projects include the break fixes of the parking lots, things on the roof, things in mechanical rooms that you don't necessarily see, as well as enhancements. So approximately $60 million from that source. Then we will also have additional bonds that are specific to life safety projects. So life safety projects typically are those items that exist today that have exceeded their useful life, that have created a hazard for individuals. Interesting concept, just putting it out there. Even though there are there's some humor as it relates to our stadiums that have exceeded their useful life, they do not qualify under life safety themselves. The bleachers do receive inspections each year and have come back, while requiring some repairs, in acceptable shape. But there are other areas such as our tracks, such as sidewalks, such as areas within our gymnasiums, as well as some ventilation challenges that are included in those projects. We have another a set of bonds referred to as DSEB or debt service extension base. Those are really focused on enhancement projects that don't qualify for life safety and are very similar to operating fund contributions, except they are being funded through separate bonds. And then I mentioned that the district will contribute in the operating budget that 5.5, if not a little more, $1 million a year. But because there's so much work that we need to do in the first year, we're going to issue debt certificates in the amount of $15 million. And you'll see that we're going to repay those debt certificates through the annual contribution. The difference is instead of going into fund balance, we're going to issue debt and then pay it back as quickly as we can through the annual contribution. One of the natural questions is, well, why not just use fund balance? And to be very candid, property taxes in Cook County have not been predictable. And after working with Vicki Tarver, our treasurer, we feel that this is the most prudent approach until things become a little more stable with property tax collections and receipts, which has nothing to do with property tax payers, just the system in which they are collected and remitted to school districts. So you'll see kind of how the revenue budget works as we go, or before we get to the expenditure budget, just highlighting when the school district goes out to debt, we are very fortunate that we have the highest credit rating available. We are rated by two separate rating agencies. We have S&P Global and Moody's Investor Services. We have maintained the AAA rating from both rating agencies for over 20 years and anticipate that that will not change, primarily because what rating agencies look for is stability. They make sure that we are not exceeding our revenues and having expenditures dipping into fund balance. And we feel that this plan is exciting, but also still responsible. And we don't anticipate any challenges on any of our revenue forms. So, final part is just talking about the current debt. This is a reminder, all of the district's current debt will retire on December 1st, 2027. I've been talking about that date for about 10 years. That includes referendum debt, which was 20 years in duration, as well as non-referendum debt that was issued starting around 2016. With the retirement, we can bond out approximately $95 million. Key concept here, without increasing the district's current debt service tax rate. So we are issuing new debt, but we're living within our means, living within our tax rate. The bonds will be issued to pay for the combination of health and life safety projects as well as enhancement projects. There are a variety of steps that we have to go in. That's those public hearings I was talking about. But we will make sure we meet all of those deadlines and steps in order to ultimately issue debt as early as October of this year, but likely into the spring, well in enough time in order to fund the projects that we have going on. And as I'm looking at my slides here, that concludes the financial presentation. Dr. Patak, Mrs. Bonner, and I are happy to answer any questions the board might have. If you just want to clarify if you have a financial question or a project question.
I know we've talked about this already a lot. So it may be that this is more of a wrap up, but did anyone have any additional questions or comments?
I was just say we've talked about it so much.
Yes.
I have a few financial, not everything else we talk a lot. I do have a few
Okay.
clarifications on the financial side. And I apologize, I don't recall seeing this table at the finance committee. It may be my fault, but that certificate repayment, so we're paying about 700 something thousands a year. And then after signing 2032 to 2036, going into like 3 million a year. Where are we getting the money from on those years to
That's a great question.
substantially increase the payments?
So whenever we do, well, let's step back. You asked the first question about the chart. This chart, with the exception of the debt certificate lines, has been part of the master facility plan that we've been presenting. We had to address the debt certificates or look at the debt certificates because of now we're finalizing or getting a better understanding of the costs based on the scope of the projects that have been heavily supported with community feedback. So our intent is to repay back the debt certificates in advance of 2036. So where we are going to have access to additional revenue, there are these batteries that you have heard a little bit about. They are located at Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South, and those batteries generate $750,000 per year after their payback is done. All of that money will accumulate in the project fund, which will allow us to accelerate the payment to cover that amount. We also, again, even though we're conservative here in our $5.5 million on contribution, we have a long-term goal to get the capital project contribution up closer to $7 million. So that'll provide additional funding.
Thank you. The last one, we don't have to talk about this today, but I just want to drop it into your train of thought and maybe Vicky as well. I know we don't want to compromise our fund because of what happens with the taxes, but there hasn't to be an all or nothing because we invest some of our fund at least to get some revenue during the year with the money as it's sitting there. So I wonder if, like many companies do, we could be creative in terms of issue an bond, internal bond, where we repay ourselves with interest the same way we pay external bonds with interest. And we may even get better interest than the interest that we are getting on the investment. I know liquidity is different, but as I said, you don't have to give me a full answer today. But
No, that is something that we are exploring as an option. Yes.
thank you.
Mr. Stein?
Two questions. So we're going into what appears to be a rising rate environment. So good for our investments and return, but potentially more expensive.
To
So
borrow.
have we done an analysis of sort of like the risk profile?
Yes. So the Finance Committee will hear directly from our financial advisor about this on June 8th. But the summary is, initially, we were planning on doing a lot of these presentations towards the end of the fall, the beginning of spring. The concern is the rate environment continues to be very fluid. And as a result, we want to empower our financial advisor to go out whenever it is most appropriate. It is estimated based on traditional market analyses that it might be a very favorable market in October, or it might be a very favorable market in December. All depends on a variety of things, and there's always the reality that things happening in the world could impact us. But Elizabeth is pretty astute on that, and that's why we're trying to give the greatest amount of lead time to maximize rate as much as possible.
My other question has to do with some kind of like a trade-off in taxes. So as our villages consider various TIF opportunities within their jurisdictions, how would that impact us? Is it enough that we need to be concerned about it, or is it just a small amount on the margin? Because this is something not within our control. Thank you.
That is very fair. So I actually will be sharing an update with the board later this week, but this evening, the Village of Northbrook is actually in the process of considering a TIF for their downtown area. So it's a very timely question. Once a area is put into a TIF, now, based on what might happen, the earliest that probably would happen is the fall. The rates gets frozen. The district continues to receive revenue, but we don't receive the increment. However, debt service payments are still payable. There's a lot of property coming on to the books of our district because we span 2 different villages. So I actually think our tax rate will decrease over time. The real easy properties to point to, there's this very small logistics area formerly known as Allstate that's coming online a lot this summer into the fall. And debt will be extended there, which will naturally bring it down. Your challenge on TIF is more on the operating funds than it is on debt. On the operating funds, ultimately, any increment in property doesn't come to the district for 23 years. It goes directly into the TIF fund. So that could be a challenge.
So when that happened with the Naval Air Station, we still received essentially payments in kind, which kept.
For
the-
student enrollment.
Okay, it's just for student enrollment.
Correct.
So before there are students, then you have a reduction in revenue.
You would,
That not
you
true?
don't receive a reduction under a TIF because it becomes frozen. You do not see any increase because you don't get to benefit from the increment that goes to the TIF fund.
So who pays then? Because the property owners are now.
So the
kind of
property
changing.
owners pay, but any new charges, instead of being on District 225's line or District, in that situation, District 30 line in Northbrook, that money goes to a TIF line and it gets paid directly to the village.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? So you'll have more detail on the finance bit at the
Yes.
finance committee meeting prior to the next regular board meeting.
Correct. But I don't want to take away, Mrs. Bonner and Dr. Patak are happy to answer any.
And Ms. Miller.
The video was just so good that it answered all our questions. Yes, it really was.
Dr. Bonner or Mrs. Bonner, one day, is very excited to go through her first bond rating agency call. So that will be
Yay.
forthcoming.
So much excitement. Excellent. Well, that was a great presentation, very enjoyable, and I'm sure the finance committee meeting will be similarly fascinating. Okay, next on the agenda is the 26-27 parent handbook, parent and student handbook, excuse me.
Thank you, Erin, and everyone. Thank you. Bye, my booster friends.
You don't want to hear about the handbook? Come on. Yeah, that's right.
At this point, I'd like to welcome Dr. Laura Cummings to our podium, as well as Mr. Ryan Manley, our Senior Manager of Technology Services. Real quick overview, each year the board is presented with the Parent and Student Handbook. To be candid, there has been so much work with the policy manual that changes to the Parent and Student Handbook are substantial, but many are related to the policy manual. So for board members, you were provided with a multicolored lined version, which was very difficult to read. And Dr. Cummings will go through the summary of the changes. And then Mr. Manley and Dr. Cummings will talk about a lot of work done with our device committee.
No one really wanted to stay for that. I mean, this is exciting. Many of us carry our handbook around everywhere we go. Pretty much the day it gets printed, we start putting these little tabs all over where we talk about, maybe that needs to change a little, or we found a typo, something like that. So every May we come together and it's teaching and learning, student services. We have the deans there, the principals are there. RJ wouldn't miss this show because it is so much fun. It is absolutely his favorite meeting. We met twice in May. And really, this is what governs like every day in the schools, right? It's the rules, it's the processes, the procedures, and our students sign off on it every year and our parents sign off on it every year during registration. So you got a sneak peek at, yep, right there. Sneak peek at the new cover. Looks very similar to last year's cover. And so as RJ just mentioned, the biggest thing that changed are the policies. No surprise, right? We updated a lot of policies. And so most of the changes this year in the handbook were related to those policies. There were a couple key areas that we talked as a group. We kind of had tabs where we said like, maybe we need a little more clarity because we refer a lot of people, whether it's staff, students, family, to the handbook to look up something in more depth. And so a couple of the things that we provided clarity was what is an unexcused and an excused absence. We talked a little bit about that here when we did our attendance presentation, but we felt like it would be really helpful to spell that out for our families and our students of what constitutes unexcused versus excused. We also expanded upon our parking violations and talked through kind of the 3 strikes you're out that's in our policy, but now we've added that language to our handbook as well. And we changed the timelines for a teacher submitting an incomplete if there was work not completed the semester so that we could be really clear about what those timelines were. Again, we get feedback on the handbook throughout the year from staff and students and community members, especially if something is not clear. And then we take that opportunity in May to meet together and make some changes. The other big change is we gave Mr. Breetag a little work and we took some of our chapters from the handbook that really had more to do with courses and we moved those to the course guide. So as you can see, we took out anything about student schedules, course request, accelerated placement, and the Glenbrook Scholar so that it wasn't in 2 different places that we could direct all those things related to curriculum and instruction and courses to the course guide. I mean, that is all the excitement I have on the handbook. That is about it. I'm happy to try and answer any questions you have.
Promise you I have no questions.
You have some?
No.
Oh. I'm like, bring it
Do we
on.
have any? One thing that I'm glad you brought up, the excused and unexcused absences, and I do think that the changes are helpful, but unless I missed it, and maybe I should have done a closer read before I brought this up. One thing that I found really counterintuitive when we talked about absenteeism, and I think that it maybe because it does feel counterintuitive, you kind of need to hit people over the head with this many times, is that an excused absence is still an absence for purposes of determining whether or not you are chronically absent. Because it feels like if the school's okay with it, doesn't really count, but it does. And I think people really maybe don't understand that. So if there's some way to communicate that clearly, and I know we're doing a lot to address chronic absenteeism, and I saw the what was it, blend ed, being able to go off and, I liked that, was kind of cute. But I just think that's going to be a hard thing for people to really internalize and understand, that even if there are very good reasons for you not to be in school because you're visiting a college or you're sick or you went to a tournament or all of those things, it's still an absence. And if you have too many of them, you are chronically absent. So just a kernel to throw out there that we need to really help people understand that, because it feels.
There is language in the handbook about that. Also, just so you know, when we send home during progress report time, when we tell families to look at PowerSchool and look at the grades, we're also sending out cumulative absences. And we do share with the parents during those, some of you should have gotten those, excused and unexcused.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
But I agree, we have to continue driving that point. Agreed.
Any other thoughts on the handbook? I'm sure as we go through it, we will have comments, but it's one of those things where it's not until you really focus on it. But I do want to also point out that we understand that a large part of what you all had to deal with in doing the revision this year was dealing with all the policy changes. So thank you. We know that was a lot of extra work on this. So.
And this will come back to the board on consent next week.
Okay.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Excellent.
I guess just one thing on the handbook. You know, it's 134 pages and there's no way the students are reading it or the parents are reading it. Unless you say, hey, go check out this there. You know, do we do a TLDR or something for it? I mean, hey, this is the couple of things you should really look at?
So for the students on the first 2 days of school during their PE class, they go to what we refer to as rights and responsibilities. But there are presentations for the students. All the students have to attend. They have to mark off within Power School that they were there and participated. And it basically is a lovely overview of the handbook and calling attention to many of the different policies and procedures, especially around attendance and discipline. So yes.
Okay, so back on consent?
Yep.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, you get me again.
Yes.
I'm just sitting right here. Do you have an intro or you want me to start?
It's all you, Laura.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so the annual kind of update on this device committee. So I've been here, I think, twice now, telling you about a committee that we pulled together from all the buildings where we look at our device violations. This was when we had instituted, for those new to the board, when we had instituted the cell phone caddies. And we had put together a committee of students and staff and administrators to look at the feedback and determine if we needed to tweak anything. And so we've been doing that every year. You may recall last year when we met, we came back with 2 recommendations to focus this year on. The first one was reestablishing that the Chromebook is the device for our students. We had kind of gotten a little far away from that in that many students were bringing their own personal devices. And it was really getting difficult on the teachers to be able to instruct or have a lesson. Also with the cell phone caddies, as you may recall, if they put their iPhone in the caddy and they had their Mac, they still had access to their texting, instant messaging, all of that. And so we really kind of hit home hard with our parents and our staff and our students, letting them know the Chromebook is our choice of electronic device, and that is the one you need to have in the classrooms. You could bring your personal device if you want. You can use that during lunch, during SRT, but in the classroom, it's the Chromebook. And then our second one was about getting feedback on students being on their Chromebooks or perhaps their other device and being able to access other social media. So they weren't missing kind of having their iPhone because they were still instant messaging through Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat. I don't think Facebook, not so much for our kids. But so we talked about blocking those sites as a way to help maintain engagement in the classes and, reducing the amount of social media that they were accessing within the classroom. So when we met again this year, and you could see in the memos, in terms of the data, in terms of how many violations there were by students or staff reporting violations, numbers were very similar. They went down a little bit, but I think the nice thing to see about the progression of the device violations is typically after a student has a violation or a couple D1 violations, which is the first violation, they typically don't get a second and a third. It's very few kids. We only had 4 district-wide that had their third violation in one class. So obviously, good news for us in terms of that working. But as a result of coming back with that committee, there was feedback around 2 topics again that they wanted us to look at. Teachers were struggling to identify whether or not the device the student had in front of them was actually the issued Chromebook. Was it a different Chromebook? Was it a MacBook? Was it, they had covers on it? They weren't sure if it was actually the school issued Chromebook. That was the first one. And then the second one was the desire to restrict more sites. And if we kept this committee going for the next 20 years, every day we'd have a new site that they would like us to restrict. In March, there was a lot about gambling and March Madness that people had asked us to look into. And so you see during, various times of the school year, different sites that they were requesting to be blocked. So connected with my good friend here, Mr. Ryan Manley, and asked him to join our device committee so that he could hear that feedback. And he had something else in the works, so I'll have you come on up.
Absolutely.
You don't want my handbook?
No, thank you, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So sort of two threads have really brought me in front of you here tonight. One, Dr. Cummings has obviously just talked about. It actually started all the way back when, for her previous report to you about social media use increasing in the Chromebooks, I helped her gather those hard numbers, and our conversation started leading me here to this point today. The second thread is actually at the tail end of Mr. Bretag's AI committee, where a group of teachers, administrators, faculty, and staff worked through an AI and education framework. Conversations that came out of there and teachers' needs and desires for how to handle AI in the classroom sort of also culminated in me being here in front of you today. So there is a solution, a technology solution that can help to solve a number of the problems that have been brought up. The suite of tools that I'm going to talk about today that we're going to be implementing hopefully this summer for teachers to use and then going forward in the next school year is called a classroom management tool. Broadly speaking, it allows a teacher in a classroom to effectively control their entire classroom, all the students' Chromebooks for the students that are sitting in front of them in their class. And it does this in a variety of ways. Some features that are common to all classroom management tools that address specific requests of the teachers or specific teacher feedback are giving the teachers visibility into what the students are doing. So if I am standing in front of you all, I have no idea what's going on in front of your screen. It's facing away from me, but I could open up my laptop and I could see 30 little thumbnails of what's going on my screen. And there's a variety of views, but ostensibly they can see what's going on. It also allows teachers to create custom sort of block lists and block certain categories of things, certain specific sites. If for some reason a lot of you in a particular class want to play on Roblox, I could block Roblox for this particular class. Different things like that. But it also allows teachers to block specific things like Google Chat, but not Docs or Sheets or something like that. So it can be very fine-grained there. It also allows a sort of a guided experience. So I can push a variety of tabs to you, either on a schedule or a curated list, set up a little prepackaged lesson, and boom, at the start of my class period, everybody's going to get 4 links on their device, or I can do it ad hoc as I stand in front of you. So those are kind of features that are common to all the tools, but there are a wide variety of these tools available. So we went through a pilot process to select which one would be best for our teachers. We tested 3 different products, 3 of the largest manufacturers of these tools: GoGuardian Teacher, Securely Classroom, and Hapara. The teachers, it was a wide group, approximately 80 individuals, teachers, administrators, everybody was involved, could come to the training, attend the open office hours that were held each week. We tested each tool for 4 weeks straight. And then I developed a survey instrument and gathered feedback from participants at both the personal advice committee and at our educational services mentor committees. Direct feedback I got from them. And overwhelming consensus on 2 sort of leading metrics were, would you use this in your classroom? 92% of the respondents to my survey said yes, they would use GoGuardian in their classroom. And then would you encourage others to use this in there? Would you have your colleagues use this in your classroom? 92% said yes, they would encourage their colleagues to use GoGuardian. Comparing that to the lowest one in that particular category, which was 7%. 7%. So GoGuardian Teacher was an overwhelming winner amongst these 3 candidates. So we're going to deploy it starting this summer and make it optionally available for folks. And yeah, questions, comments, concerns?
I'll add just a few more elements here, and I shared more of an update about this in the bullet point for the board this past week. Tools like this, the names that you see here have been in the industry for several, for 15 plus years, one for at least 10 years. This type of software has been being implemented in one-to-one environments that entire time. In fact, when I came to the district, I remember talking to Mr. Breitag, and I was a bit shocked that we didn't have the software. But part of why we didn't have the software was because we had never taken a stance as a district to require students to use the district issued device. They all had to have it, but they didn't have to actually use it. This type of software has really evolved in that a teacher, it's in many ways time-based and other ways group-based, where the teacher only has access to control that screen during the school day, and assuming that the students are on the network. So there's a bunch of prevention tools to make sure that, an individual staff member can't see what some student is doing at 9 o'clock at night on their Chromebook or what have you. Although I'd like to always remember everyone that everything is always monitored at all point in time and things of that nature. Glenbrook has for a long time been on a cutting edge of addressing this challenge of students remaining on task. Mr. Manley mentioned it, but I want to highlight it again. Our teachers are asking very valid questions. I've issued an essay for my students, and I don't know if the students are using AI to generate the response there or if it is them who are generating it. Software like this allows us to leverage the technology environment that's important for us to be introducing and guiding our students to and teaching them the right ways to use technology versus not, but also allowing us to restrict things when they need to be restricted down. It's not a solution for what is here with AI, but it is a tool that teachers have access to. With the absence of these tools, and if you've been watching commencement speeches at the university level or reading the newspaper, what you'll end up with is, I still refer to them as blue books, but we'll just say paper and pencil. You end up going back there because you can't guarantee that the device is secure. This software provides that ability, as well as collecting a tremendous amount more of data that will help Ryan and his team implement. So very grateful to get here. The only other thing I want to say is I have been doing survey research and education for over 15 years. I have never received a rate of 92% on anything. So to hear, 80 some teachers across schools, across disciplines, utilize these tools, had access to them for 4 weeks at a time, 12 weeks, and to get to a 92% consensus on a tool, I can't wait to see how that tool is going to be implemented and the feedback we get. It's my commentary. I'll stop now.
Mr. O'Hara. You seem so excited. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, two things. RJ, you mentioned that we didn't require students to use our device. Do we require it now, just to be clear?
As of this year, yes.
Okay. I mean, the training for the Go Guardian, it seems to me like 92% means the 8% is probably the people who don't want to use it anyway. If you want to be honest, there's a couple people out there who probably don't want to do anything new, which happens. But training for something like this, are we going to be doing a one-on-one training? Because it seems to me if you just get up in front and just do a PowerPoint, it's hard for people to really, your middle use technology people my age, let's say, who might have some trouble with new stuff. How are you guys going to work that?
It's definitely been a topic that we've discussed. Dr. Cummings, Mr. Breitag, and even Dr. Georges and I have been talking about the training of this tool over the last few weeks in a systems meeting that we have. It's going to have to be thorough and quite extensive. We hope to use like Glenbrook Days, training opportunities like that, and then potentially ongoing training. We do have insight into how the tools are being used, what features of the tools are being used. So one of the things we can do is, as we see utilization, in the first few weeks, we can work with the companies, we can work amongst ourselves and come up with a plan to be like, hey, we should get our numbers up, get our utilization up, and then maybe, oh, they don't know about this cool feature that would really help them. Maybe we could teach them about that and develop some PD about that and offer that. So it has been a discussion. I don't have specifics yet, but we've been talking about it.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Schein?
How was, I didn't see in the memo, how is this charged? License, annual? Per
You wanna
seat-
talk about
per
license?
seat?
Yeah, so we're getting per seat licenses based on the number of students. And it is actually part of a bundle that was included in the over $35,000 memo today. We are, a number of products were purchased from the same company. And one of those was was our web content filter. We're actually changing companies and we're going to save about $2 per person. And so significantly deferring the cost of this new tool. We only had to find roughly $2,000 to $3,000 to actually make this purchase. But yeah, it's a per student cost.
And how will we know like this is successful or not?
It's a great question. One of, I think a big pride point of Dr. Cummings is when we gather together with the committee, which we don't just bring together for, an hour at the end of the year, we meet once a semester to go over it and dig into the data. They let us know. And so we'll hear directly from our staff. I know that we also, through our new teaching and learning coordinators, we're working to provide a lot more hands-on opportunities to dig in. So we'll get some anecdotal feedback from that. There's also quantitative data. We'll know who's using the tool, what elements they're using, and we can report out on that.
Will we provide like the global kind of PD at the kickoff or, something in the beginning of the year?
So little early preview. I'm looking to do something a little different for Glenbrook Day, which none of my people are fully aware of yet. But there's nothing better than when you have an initiative that is wholly owned and supported by your teachers and hearing from them talking about why this is a good thing. And so perhaps we'll have an opportunity to hear from them why it's a good thing, as opposed to me very excited explaining why it's a good thing. Something like that at the Glenbrook Day, yes.
Some of the feedback just to offer, and it was direct quotes from teachers. It was an absolute game changer for my classroom for every single class period. I pre-scheduled a default scene for every single one of my classes. And then another teacher commented, it was nice to see the change over in as little as 2 weeks in kids' behavior and habits. So, I mean, they saw it, they talked about it.
I think just having links that are ready to go without having to do anything to make that happen, that's 5 minutes right there. You know what I mean? Save in each class. Dr. Steinberg or Ms. Hope?
Is there anything we need to communicate to students and families about rolling this out, and when and how are we doing that?
So we already did a big communication about the pilot program, and I think we just sort of resend that out again, just updated. The pilot had details about each particular software and some particularities or some specifics for each one. But yeah, we'd send that out. Communicating things like the privacy features that Dr. Gravel mentioned about the tool being time-bound, network-bound, and account-bound. So 3 things have to be true for a teacher to observe a student's device, and those kind of things will help quell fears, I think.
This is just more of a curiosity, but I was looking at the number of violations last year versus this year, and it looks like, well, GBS went down from like 246 to 84. GBN went up from 119 to 211. Like, do we know what's accounting for like such a drastic difference between the two in device violations?
Great question, Beth. We actually talked about that at the committee, trying to get some insight into that. I do think there's some different interventions taking place at South right now. Really more, I know, in terms of attendance, but some reminders there from the deans. And so there's always a possibility that teachers aren't reporting it as much. They definitely said second semester that as a whole, the union kind of owned that, saying our teachers really haven't been submitting as much as they had been the year before. I also think, and I should look at this by grade level, because they're saying that the incoming freshmen, there's much less violations with the freshmen because they don't know any better. It's kind of what they've always known. Our current seniors and juniors are kind of the old rules and now the new rules. And so maybe a little harder to adapt to that. Good question, though.
Dr. Steinberg?
Yeah, thank you. Huge effort, and congratulations for trying. And I'm sure we're gonna keep hearing these things because things are changing. I didn't read this book, but was recommended both by one of my sons and my wife. This anxious generation. So I'm thinking this is happening everywhere. So it's a good effort, but we're trying to ask our kids to disconnect while everybody else is connected and what they are connected the minute that they leave. So it's we're trying to swim against the tide. And I'm not advocating for letting people to be connected, but the world is changing around us. So that let me think about another thing. We don't have statistics probably, but what was the rate of distraction before any of these things existed? Because, I remember my parents going to parents-teacher and teachers telling them, I don't know why, but I couldn't stop talking during class. So I think things have changed, but of course, this has increased incrementally. But the question is, let's assume we become 100% successful. We get them out of the tools. Are we going to get an increase in ratio of wanting to go to the restroom? Are we going to get an increase in ratio of students being distracted? Because there's another element here. It's not just simply the impulse from the outside. When my kids play sport, I didn't see anybody running on the field with a cell phone. Or when they went to theater, I didn't see anybody on the play with a cell phone on. Or when I go to see music, I don't see anybody. And I am a teacher at a different level, so I'm not blaming the teachers here. I think, as I said, I think we're streaming against the tide. But there's a challenge for us to figure out what's the right ratio between having the full attention span over 90 minutes or 45 minutes or 50 minutes, or giving them a little bit leeway so they can continue keeping attention. Because we know that it's hard. Even people, I hate it. I go to movies and some people turn the phone on because they cannot be quiet for whatever the movie lasts. So I appreciate the technological efforts, and I'm sure we are working on the pedagogical efforts to figure out a way how to get the attention back. It hurt me, in my case, to say, you have no issue paying attention for 90 minutes in the soccer field, and then you have to go to the restroom 5 times because you cannot be seated for 50 minutes. And I'm glad they are not listening to me right now. So there's something wrong in the system, not in the individual teachers or anything, or in society where we have our priorities not clear on when it's okay to, I see more now in society, people going to places and, putting the cell phone down like this as a good etiquette sign. So maybe there is a way, aside from, paying and trying to get the tools, to re-educate all of us to figure out a way where the focus of attention should be. We're not asking them to throw their phones away. We're asking them just to pay attention to, a great movie or a great lecture or a great discussion. So I'd say one last thing, which is and I don't know how we do this, but you mentioned AI and cheating, and I'm sure you all heard what happened at Purdue a couple of weeks ago. So it's not, so we really need to, you put faith, I don't know if you heard or not, but basically, I think 3/4 of the class of computer science engineering in Purdue, which is very talented people and people very motivated trying to get good jobs. And they all were caught on using AI to cheat on an exam, and they had to invalidate the entire class. So if it happens in an environment where people are paying, are motivated, are trying to get good jobs, and it's a very highly known school, we need to figure out as educators how to beat the system or change the system. Because otherwise we're going to continue fighting until somebody else comes. I'm sorry there weren't a question I shouldn't be postulating, but I just want to say, it's commendable the effort that we do, but we cannot take the ball away from the other side because otherwise we're going to be spending time and effort fighting for the next new tool or shiny object, and we're not going to get anywhere.
Agreed.
Mr. Downing? Any comments?
No, I was just comment on the AI piece of it. It sounds like it's going to block that so they can't get to ChatGPT, or they can't get to Claude or Perplexity or whatever, right?
Yeah, the idea would be, so in the classroom, this is the classroom management.
No, I
tool,
understand,
so-
just classroom, yeah.
So as I'm wandering around the room, I'm helping Laura over here with her assignment. You can't be changing screens and switching over and, using AI over there while I'm all the way over here and not seeing what you're doing.
So it blocks it, or it just locks it.
Yeah, it would be up to the teacher at that point.
Got it.
It would be up
Okay.
to the teacher.
Yeah, no, that's the only thing. No.
Mr. Glowacki?
Just to correct the record, since we brought up some allegations about another university that are not actually correct.
Oh, they were in the news, so correct.
No, the allegations were all dismissed. All the
Okay.
students' grades were held intact. So before, and since they're also a supporter of this district with many students, I want to make sure that the record is actually correct on that.
No, I've never accusing the students. I've been just
So
reshaping the news.
anyway, it was an AI fabricated, there was a professor that was upset, but.
So
all
AI
that-
hallucinated that
It
AI
added
had a problem.
headlines and stuff, and so
No,
that's.
if we're gonna set the
That's so
record-
meta.
If we're gonna set the record, if we're gonna set the record straight, is you cannot make an accusation that you cannot substantially prove.
That's fair.
And that's what's happening every
So I
day.
just
So
want to
that's
correct the
not to
record.
say the
since
same
it's public
thing.
record
Yeah.
and
Very
everything.
good, very fair
So,
point.
so that's why you had the
There's
look,
no
or
reason
when you were
to-
pointing out, no, when you were pointing out the look earlier,
Ah,
that was
okay.
why you
No,
Yeah.
okay, but
had that and everything. So going, just a quick question I have for the group regarding switching back to this. I saw Google Chat was one of the ones that the teachers all reference, yet I also understand many teachers use Google Chat, especially in part of our e-learning curriculum when we have those emergency days. How does the tool work? I guess from class to class, if different teachers want to utilize certain tools and everything is it flexible enough where if I've got a 9 a.m. session, by 10 a.m. it shuts all the privileges back and next teacher takes over? And then you've got master Uber authority to open it up on those emergency days where we've got to have other tools cleared.
So absolutely. So once, so you will import your Google Classroom class into the system if you're a teacher, and it'll bring in all your students with you, and you'll see them during your class period is when you can take advantage of them. So, or when you can control their devices. And again, it's going to be time bound to 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. or 3:15, and then on our schools network, and then when the student's logged in with their Glenbrook account. But as a student transitions from class to class, they will move from my class to Ryan's class to Laura's class, and then that control will also move with them as they go throughout their daily schedule.
So is that based on their schedule or IP locations?
It's based on the schedule data that's imported into the system from PowerSchool and Google Classroom together. And then if, for example, there's a couple ways to get around it. There's best practices. Obviously, we all want to end our session before our time period is over. Like I'm a teacher and I end my session and cleanly unlock everything, right? But say a student closes their device before the session is done or while the screen is still locked when they go home, and it gets off our Wi-Fi and it's outside of the time period. It takes about 2 minutes, and then the device will recognize that, hey, I'm not supposed to be locked anymore, or I'm not supposed to be managed anymore, and then it'll pop out of that state.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just know we use different tools. Part of the learning of the technology is learning to use the tool at the right time. I should be paying attention in the class, but wait, the teacher's now pointing out something on YouTube or something else I should be using after class to understand this math principle.
Right.
And I'm in the hallway, so that's wonderful that it has that flexibility.
And it should be pointed out, this isn't new to many of our students. Many of our students have come up with these tools in our feeder schools. So there were a lot of students that were, as soon as I got feedback, as soon as the teacher hit the lock button, they knew, like half the class would just close their laptops because they were familiar with it from middle school.
And one day, we will bring elementary and high school all together and it'll be a seamless experience across 5 districts.
I just have two things, or one question. And not to sound too big brothery, but is there a way, or is there an opportunity? I know we collect so much information on Panorama, And we use that in lots of different ways. And I know some of it's anonymized and some of it isn't and all of that. But is there some way to have these two systems work together to get, is there anything useful that Panorama can get from information that this platform might be able to give us? Just something to think about. I don't know.
I think we can explore that and come back with a good answer.
I just wonder, because I know that we're looking to see, you know, if there are, when we'll look for flags for some student behaviors, for example, and is this a student behavior that we would want to know about? You know, this is a kid who's consistently trying to get around this, or, you know, having to be shut down or whatever. Maybe they all do it so much that it's not even a real data point, but in any event. And then just to, I mean, and again, you're right, Araceli, we shouldn't have like a big philosophical discussion about it, but at least my view of it is I think that there will be some students who will be grateful for this, because they feel this inexorable pull to do this. They know it's not great, but it's just the way they're wired right now. And to have someone just shut it down just takes a lot of pressure off them. They don't have to think about it anymore. And whether that's something they should be able to self-control and train themselves for in the best of all possible worlds, yes. But I also feel like there are some times that it's just better to do it for them, so that they can, and maybe they won't focus. Maybe they'll just look out the window the way I did when I was in high school and I was bored and twiddle their thumbs because they can't get the Chat GPT or, you know, March Madness or whatever. But maybe they'll actually pay attention, because that's more interesting than doing that. So we'll see.
Listen, just one comment, just to clarify. I always make the same example. Nobody's forced not to use the phones when they are swimming or they are wrestling or they are doing something else. So there is a point in life where a kid, no matter what age, makes a conscious decision to disconnect.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing them
Oh,
to
I
do that.
agree,
And
but
my comment is, we as educators haven't found a way to have the same pool. It's not about forcing or not forcing. I agree. If there are no choice, I'd rather force to get something done. I'm saying, philosophically, I would love for us to find the holy grail where somebody can sit and loves to listen to what I'm doing or play with what I'm playing or do something like that, that they can say, I can get away off my phone for 5 more minutes or 10 minutes.
No, I hear
That's a
you.
comment.
I think that that's definitely aspirational, to put it that way. Okay, anyway. Do we have anything else on this topic? This was fascinating. I think we actually need to approve this, right? So is that going to come back on consent?
This will come back on consent, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. I've lost my. We are now up to topics for future board meetings.
So we have a few items coming up. On June 8th, just a reminder, 5:00 PM. Again, that time is 5:00 PM. We will gather for a finance committee meeting. All are certainly welcome. That focus will be regarding the master facility plan funding. We will also invite Assistant Director Julie Shellard to talk to us about how we're expanding access to medication throughout the building. These are those emergency medications such as we're talking about glucagon, we're talking about epi, we're talking about why am I blanking on asthma and Narcan and things of that nature. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We also will have a public hearing for the exterior life safety work on June 8th. And then finally, this is an important one. I apologize, we had a little bit of a timing snafu, but I do require 4 board members present on June 22nd for a very short meeting, but an important meeting. Sandy is number 1. She's going to be here. So
Just need 3 more.
Just need-
For 10 minutes.
I'll be in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
One
well,
down.
That's a very good excuse.
I can zoom in.
yes, but I need, okay, so I got that. I need a majority of a quorum for
I'm overseas.
in person, okay?
Out west. I'm in LA.
I can zoom in.
You can zoom in?
It has to be 4 in person.
Is it work related?
But we need 4 people
Here.
Yes, I need a majority. Okay. We'll be following up on that. We'll make that work somehow.
I could say it's workish.
Yes, I just need a
We still
physical
need four
quorum.
Physically here.
Physical.
That's the challenge. No worries. We'll work through that. One other thing, my board member colleagues, there is a piece of paper in front of you. I am going to collect that piece of paper at the conclusion of this evening. If you could please fill it out. This is really important. And first time we're publicly saying this, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Breitag, Dr. Cummings, and myself have been accepted to present at the joint annual conference. That is on the Friday. This is the first time to our knowledge our district has ever presented. And so we'd love to have all of our friends there and present. Friday slots are very people go. This is the time. So we'd love to see you there. And then certainly we welcome you on Saturday as well, or whatever you'd like. Registration opens on June 1st, so I need to have your information. Even if you might change your mind, that's okay. We got to get into registration on June 1st. All right, we do have. Oh, yes.
Please, share. I would love to, we are totally wrapping up in my business, how AI is really, it's streamlining so many tasks that took us hours to do. It is now taking us minutes. It's unbelievable how more efficient we are. It's not eliminated jobs, it's just made us more efficient and getting better at it. And I would love to see it, I'm happy to help with how we could utilize that with any of the stuff, any one of the different.
Policy committee?
It could do so much for that, actually.
We might be able to talk about some data initiatives that we're working on. So that might be a good way to segue that. Okay.
Anyone else have any topics they'd like to share? Okay, that's great. We can, if something comes to mind, you can always shoot an email to RJ or me.
And if the board is amenable, I think our closed session would be very short if we just want to go right into it.
Okay. Is the board amenable? Okay, in that case. Is this a potato?
Potato,
kind of
yes,
thing?
yes, it
Okay.
is.
Alrighty. This evening, the Board of Education will enter closed session to discuss sensitive matters as allowed under the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Please note that no action will be taken following closed session this evening. At this time, I will entertain a motion to consider
I move.
appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity in accordance with Section 2C1 of the Open Meeting Act.
I second Jack's motion.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.